Where were you? What were the weeks like leading up to the moment you and I met on that phone call that I'll never forget? You were like the only mom that called me from a bathtub. And now because of the virus, I've had calls in cars and closets, but you are the only mom that I've ever spoken to in a bathtub, which is just so cute. But what I would love to hear is, what were the weeks like leading up to that phone call? Like really kind of paint a picture of the crisis that you were in.
Yeah. We had just moved to New York. Summer was very forward in actually knowing that living alone wasn't good for her anymore, and had come to her dad and I and said, is there any possible way that one of you can move? So we did. All we could afford was the one little studio apartment. We had no privacy. I had learned a lot through her cell phone and Snapchat. And then it was just, my whole world came crashing down. It was, the trust was gone. The risky behavior was like blowing my mind. I felt like I had failed as a mother. I felt like our whole family dynamic had fallen apart. I felt like I couldn't talk to anybody because I was almost too embarrassed that these things were happening. And so I literally just Googled, we had tried therapy and that just didn't, she just didn't want to go back. She didn't want to go back to all of those things and relive all of those things and go through, her upbringing again. And she didn't want to go to the cognitive type of therapy. And so I knew about life coaching. And so I just literally was Googling life coach for teen girls. And there you were. So I clicked on you, I read about you, and read every single word on the webpage. And I made the call. Told Summer that I was going to make the call. But before I could get her to work with you, I was calling for myself, basically. I was hoping that she would come along with me on that journey that, you were going to lead us down. But it really had to be a decision for her. And if she wasn't going to, then I was going to have to go get therapy just for myself. So we had hit so many breaking points living in that tiny little apartment that I think she kind of felt that she had pretty much hit rock bottom as well. And I think she wanted the change. I think she wanted the help. And that kind of made the biggest difference. So I really just texted her your webpage and your information. And I said, if you're willing to and you want to make the call, make the call. We can work with her. And we went out and had a nice dinner and talked about it that night. And then, then sure enough, she did it on her own. And that really makes a huge difference when the girls can reach out on their own. And that just speaks that they're ready to, make some changes. And it was the hardest call for her. I had to walk around in the freezing cold. So that's what we would do during our phone calls, is one of us would leave the apartment. A couple of times she was in the bathtub with the door locked, and I would turn the TV up really loud. And so it was just a really kind of a unique situation, and not being in the comfort of our own home and kind of going through this. But then it also forced us to deal with each other.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. Okay. So if you don't mind, tell me what it was like when you couldn't sleep at night, as you realized that you had to do something. What were those thoughts, worries, and fears that were on your mind about Summer and about your relationship with her and about the choices she was making?
Didn't realize that we had even a problem until until I, gotten into her cell phone. But, and after that, there was just so much fear and so much, like, where is this girl going to end up? I mean, I was absolutely horrified. It was going to be, I was ready to pull the plug on everything and, let her go on her own. And then, her dad and I would talk, and I'm like, well, where is that going to go? That's going to be like, she's going to end up on the street. She could end up, you know, being a stripper. I don't know. She would, her behaviors were very risky, and she'd really be willing to do anything to keep on doing what she was doing. We talked about me moving back home and her having to find a way to pay her rent. And so all of those things, thinking about all of those things, I just really felt trapped, and just terrified for her, just, because they are old enough to make their own decisions, and the decisions that she was making just weren't, they were just completely, something I never thought she would do. And I think that there are a lot of moms out there that their teens are doing things that they never thought their teens would do. And you may or may not know about it. I knew about it. I don't really know if that's such a good thing, but they do need their privacy at that age. But I would stay awake like all night long. I would track her on Life 360 like a crazy person. I mean, I felt myself like going insane trying to like figure out what to do with her and figure out how to get her from this 15, 16-year-old to an adult. And it was different because she was living away from home. And so when she left, she was 15. And then when we came together, it was almost like she was still 15. So that was kind of unique. But yeah, it was endless nights of no sleep and not eating and just so much worry and hurt.
Yeah, I know that was so difficult for you. And I think Summer's unique, but she's not, because every mom looks at their teenage daughter and sees endless potential, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what was that like for you to see what her future could be like if she could course correct versus the path that she was heading?
Yeah, it's, you know, we are kind of different because I know her potential and I know where she wanted to go, that she was saying, and I know that she could get to everything she wanted and more. But then too much guidance from me pushed her away. I don't know, there's just so much that goes into all of this. And knowing how much potential your daughter has and just being so fearful that she's not going to meet your expectations or live up to that, is where we kind of really had to do a lot of work, and understanding that, my expectations may not line up with hers, and kind of letting go of those type of things, and understanding that it's not just Summer that has the problem. It was me too. I had a lot of things to work through with her, and just to let her be her own person and not be this person that I thought that I was, creating, and I was going to shape and mold, and she was going to be my little, the little perfect little daughter. And, that just, they're their own people. And that's been probably my biggest struggle, is letting her go enough to do what she wants to do and trusting, and without her getting back into trouble.
I hear that. Okay, so when you made that decision, a lot of times when parents are like, okay, well, we need help, there is like still a little bit of that skeptical side. Were you worried when you decided, yes, we have to do something, and you made the decision to work with me? Were you a bit skeptical?
I was. I was very skeptical, because I thought, when you kind of described your program, then after I told you everything that I had told you, I thought, okay, there's no way this woman can change my daughter's life in like, what was it, couple of months,
Yeah.
4 months. Um, and I've known her for this long. I've known my own daughter for this long, and I can't even get her to do this. So how is this woman that I've never met going to be able to like turn our whole world around? And but I don't know. There was something when we were talking that there was like a comfort. There was a level of understanding that you had, and and I didn't feel like I was alone, or like I was a mom that had, this only mom that's ever been through this. It kind of made me feel like it was comfortable, even though our situation was a little unique. But it was just a comfort level. And when I told my husband about it, of course, he was like, "You want me to do what?" And I was like, "No, if you could just talk to Jamie, you would understand everything. It would all come together for you." And he's like, "Well, I'm just going to go ahead and trust you on this one." And he's like, "Something has to happen." And we did it. And it was hard in the beginning because you were having conversations with her privately, and then I didn't know what was happening kind of on the backside. So there was, even after the program started, there was still a little bit of trust issues on my part, because things would start to slowly change, like even within the first couple of weeks. And you as a mom, you're sitting there going, "Wait, like that's not it, you're not talking like you're usually talking. You're doing some different stuff here." And so changes kind of started right away. But I was skeptical because I was on the backside, and I'm like, "What is she telling? What is she telling her? Like, is she making me out to be this complete and total monster?" And so that's a big fear when you're, letting go and relinquishing your daughter to another person to like try to kind of cover every aspect of her life and get it all back in line. Because you, as the mom, are thinking, "Well, that's my job." Um, but wow, once you let it go, it just really takes off with your program.
Awesome. Okay, so let's talk about like that start and when you started to notice changes and maybe what the first like significant changes were that you did
Mhm.
notice.
It was probably the first 2 weeks into the program, 2 to 3 weeks. And we were in another disagreement, and it was how she handled it. It was, she needed to stop. She took a minute. She put her coat on. She walked out of the apartment and she said, "This is nothing against you. I just need a moment. I'm going to take a walk. I'll be back in 20 minutes." And she left, and I was sitting there going, "What?" Um, okay. She's never done this before. It's always been, battle, 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 battle till the end. And she just remained calm, cool, collected, left. She came back and she said, "I'm not quite sure that I want to talk about this just yet." And I think that's because she wanted to go to you with it and get some help and then come back. And we were tired of the battling and the knockdown dragouts. And she really, really wanted that to change. And so did I. And so seeing that first glimpse of like hope, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is going to really work."
And then as you guys went through the program, I saw your relationship start to shift, just like the way Summer she wanted to be close to you, right? And so and you wanted to be close to her. So how did your mom-daughter relationship shift, in her 10 weeks in the program?
It went through, I mean, we went through ups and downs during the program. There were moments of, separation again. It was like, 2 steps forward and 1 step back kind of deal. But that was also navigating, and that was me trying to navigate the work that I needed to do. She was applying everything that you were teaching her, and she was doing it really well. but then I felt like I needed to catch up. And so that's where the calls that you had with, every couple of weeks or every week with the moms, kind of going over what you're working with, with your daughters. And then it would all make sense. And I'm like, oh, okay. That's when she used this. And you kind of went over just what you do with them. And it really, really helped. And so as we went along through the 10 weeks, then it just progressed and progressed and progressed. And we both ended up with a toolbox on how to navigate around each other. And it wasn't always, this beautiful sit down little wonderful conversation. Sometimes it was, let's go our separate ways for a little bit. Sometimes it was, I would act like the child, and she would have to come to me, and she would be the grown up. And so we kind of just went back and forth like that. And then we've really learned how to, I think, tackle some difficult conversations in a way without the crying, the screaming, the yelling, and if one of us isn't ready for it, then we don't go there. We don't do it. We will walk away. And when you're ready, we can talk about this.
That's huge.
So it's really huge.
So when did you realize that she was going to be okay?
I realized that she was going to be okay probably within the first month. After about 4 weeks, I was thinking, I would watch her do her journaling, and I would watch her do her homework, and I would see her self-care behaviors change. I would see her boundaries with her friends change. And it's not gigantic in the beginning, it's huge, but these small little glimmers of hope that was what I needed. I needed to, like, she's going to be okay. She's going to make it through this. She's going to be okay. I don't think she's going to go back to these behaviors. Of course, the trust is broken. So there's, lots of work to do there. And she's really, really, really been so incredibly patient with me, with building up the trust. And I think that you really helped her through, pulling in the rain, Summer, just give your mom some time. It's not going to always be like this. It's not going to, and I think people get in their ruts and they think that that's it. We're just going to stay here in our relationship. Oh, maybe she'll come back around when she's 25. But it doesn't have to be that way.
So overall, what were your biggest celebrations during her 10 weeks? Like what were the things that you saw a shift in her that meant the most to you?
Her honesty, her not lying, and being honest and truthful about what she was going to do, where she was going to go, everything like that. Us getting through our mother, daughter, ballet teacher, ballet student, that was a really tough thing for us to go through. And that kind of took up the majority. It lasted the majority of the program. Towards the end, I needed to do a lot of work for myself because as a former ballet dancer, I obviously had my expectations for her, but didn't know whether she wanted those for herself. And so I had to really kind of relinquish everything and back off. And I dropped conversations about ballet. I dropped conversations about food, about weight, about body image, about what you need to get there. I knew everything she needed to do, every minute of her future and how to get to where she's supposed to get. But I had to let go of that. And that's when that was a big change in our relationship. When I made a move that responded to the work that you were doing with her, then it was like the flower just opened and it blossomed. And so it's not just, coming to you is just not, I just don't want the moms to think that this is is all about your kids' problems. It's really not, because you've contributed to how she is acting and what she's doing all the way through her teen years, And so it's kind of chipping away at that, and a lot of forgiveness and a lot of rebuilding the trust, and um, trusting her decisions now. I have no problem whatsoever. It's really, really, truly amazing. Texting you and saying she's going to go to Cabo. Like, normally it was like 911, Jamie, 911. Or I would text you going, it's okay, calm down, not in crisis. Just want to ask this. And then the last time I texted you, it was, I just have to text you because you always get these like crisis calls. And I actually have like the most fabulous news to tell you. And that I am so genuinely excited for her to go on a trip with another family to another country. And I genuinely felt happy for her. And that was the first time that had happened in a long time.
That's so good. That was the best text ever. But tell me what life is like now that you see her on this path towards reaching her potential, and that all these things have clicked together. Like, where are you now?
Now I feel like I can live my own life. I don't feel like it has to be so circled around her and hovering around her and making sure she's not going to do something or hurt herself or go down the wrong path again. I feel like I can pay attention to myself. I feel like I can get a job. I started my real estate license, knocked out 4 classes, got a job at Amazon just because I want something to do. And so I don't go to work worried that something is happening at home that shouldn't be happening at home. And so that my life has changed because I get to have my own life now. I don't feel like it's so surrounded around these 2 girls that I have.
That's so good. I'm celebrating with you. That's amazing. And I feel like you getting your life back was you deserve that. Right? Those are some tumultuous times that you had to basically put your life on pause to do damage control in your daughter's life. But let's talk just for a second about like what you would say to a mom who comes across me and on the internet, just some random person. What would you say to her if you could have a conversation with that mom?
I would tell her that making that phone call to you would be the best decision she could ever make for her and her daughter. I would give her the advice that not to force her daughter into your program, that it really has to be, your daughter wanting to do the work. And it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of self care, and it's a lot of focus. It's a lot of looking internally. And that it's what you do with the girls it's really magical. It's really incredible. And then there's a lot of work for the moms to do as well. And it changes the whole family dynamic. When she came down to sit downstairs with us, and I'm like, what are you doing down here? Like, you're always in your room. So things like that, start to change. And so you're terrified in the beginning, and you feel helpless, and you feel worthless, and you feel like just like a crap mother, that you've gone wrong somewhere, and you can't even talk to your friends because you're embarrassed, and all of those feelings are just running through your head, and you just feel very, very alone. And but when you make that call and talk to you, then you realize that no matter how far to the other side your daughter's gone, I felt so incredibly comfortable, and I wasn't the only one. And the no judgment, like it did not feel judged at all. Like if I could tell you anything, and it was amazing. You have a very special quality.
Oh, thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Anything else that you would want to say? Just like an open-ended question.
I don't know. I just think that the whole program was something that I stumbled upon, and it was the best thing that's ever taken place in our life over the last from 15 to 18. And it only took a very small amount of time to happen and to transform and to take place, and it sticks. And that's the thing. That's the thing is if the daughter wants it and if you do the work as well, it sticks. I mean, I don't feel like she will venture down those paths anymore. I feel like she's will make better choices with friend groups and so forth. And so that is really, really, really huge, huge change. And so I would not hesitate at all to go through it again. I actually offered it to my other daughter. She might take me up on it. I don't know. But yeah, moms, call Jamie.
Thank you, Robyn. Last question. So sometimes the investment, so what I believe is that it does stick, right? I see it all the time. But so I tell moms, it's not just an investment in the 10 weeks, it's an investment in her life and her future. So
Yeah.
what would you say to moms who are nervous about making that investment?
Mm-hmm. I guess after understanding your program and how it worked, then you can do the math, moms, and you can break that down to however long it would take to go through a therapist or to go through a psychiatrist or go through those things and how much you have to pay. And you can break those down to how many visits are you going to have, how many times a week you're going to have to go. And that investment is going to be way, way, way more, takes so much longer than your program. I mean, it's just, and that's kind of where I started. That's kind of what I did. And I kind of looked at, because, I'm in New York, and so, or was in New York. And I mean, therapy is not cheap there. It was like crazy, crazy expensive. And even if we had gone home to do it, it was still expensive. So, and all moms want to invest in their daughters. I mean, you want them to come out of this on the other side of, an adult that gives back and that is loving and caring and empathetic and, can find her place in the world. And so you're going to invest in it, whether it's therapy or whether it's Jamie. And I'll tell you, Jamie's is a lot faster, and it ends up being a whole lot less expensive. And I think a lot more beneficial to your daughters.
Perfect. It's easy for me to say because I've done that math, right? In a year in therapy, like normal therapy is like $8,000.
Mm-hmm.
But in the moment, moms I think it's that skeptical side, right? And this is
It is.
It's like that, okay, could she really do this that quickly?
Right.
Yeah. That's the hang up, I think.
That is the hang up. And then you pair that with the price tag and they're like, oh, okay, wow. But after understanding the program and talking to you a couple of times before we did it, then, I sat down and did the math. I'm like, well, the therapy is costing this and this and this and this, and I don't want to just stop it. She needs to work all the way through it, which could be, 2 years or more. We had a lot of things to work through. So, probably more. And then therapy for myself too. So it's a double bill there. And it's not just for her, because she's not the only one with the problem,
Yeah.
I got her there. So
what's interesting too, if you look at it that way, it's like she was 17 years old, right? And so what if I think we froze for a sec, but she was 17 years old. Like, you didn't have 2 years. Like, you were looking at a girl who was about ready to throw away everything that she had worked towards and you had worked towards. Like, what scared you about that? Her age and, like, I don't know, her dream was so big, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah. She was veering off the wrong path. And like you said, she was 17 and a half years old, and you were like, oh my gosh, you're 17 and a half. You don't have much time. Like, we've got to do some work. I mean, when she's 18, she can make her own decisions and she can do what she wants to do. And I tell both of my girls, the only thing 18 gets you here is a voter's registration. So, but I mean, there are things that come with 18 that, you know, you're kind of cut off as a parent. And so it was pretty amazing that it all took place before she turned 18.
That's good timing.
Yeah.
Okay, well,